Welcome to Fan Strike. I'm Josiah.
I'm Isaiah.
I'm Elijah.
And I'm Levi.
Now today, the movie we're covering is The Black Panther. And bear in mind, I say this with an unblemished and staunch record of heterosexuality.
It's fabulous.
We recommend seeing this movie.
We all liked it.
Tremendous.
As always, we're going to start off with our top 10 strikes. This being Fan Strike. So, number 1 is Rack and Attack. Eli?
Okay, so first off, in the beginning of the movie, when Black Panther jumps out of the jet to recruit Nakia, she grabs an AK-47 from a guy, racks it, and then smacks him in the head with it. So, I don't know if she was taking a shell out or if she wanted a little more oomph to the hit, or who knows.
She just had to look cool. Hollywood loves the sound of chambering a weapon.
Strike 2, we have the Jason Bourne-styled camera work.
Drunken.
Dizzying.
Unsettling.
Nauseating.
Because the camera work was so shaky and dizzying, nauseating, as we said, we felt it was really hard to focus and actually be able to see the choreography of what was going on. You can't sit far enough back in the theater to really establish what's going on, so you might as well sit up front.
For Strike 3, we're talking about his digital suit.
Yeah, so Black Panther's suit was all inside a necklace, which to me just felt lazy and is more or less invincible.
Right, because as we are introduced to Black Panther in Civil War, he has a suit that is actually a lot cooler if you think about it. It's
right here.
Because Iron Man has that, fully titanium alloy suit and everything, and this is a different approach to a kind of bulletproof suit. It's it's lined with vibranium. It was really cool, and we feel like this kind of takes away from that.
Strike 4, vibranium tech.
So with the vibranium technology, we feel that it just kind of takes away from the storyline basis of the movie because they didn't really give it much of a background explanation. They show that it comes from a comet from outer space or whatever, but say compare this movie to like Iron Man. How in the first Iron Man movie, they focus a good half hour of the movie on the technology of the arc reactor that powers his suit and stuff. In this movie, they give you like 25 to 30 seconds of an explanation for where it came from. And then all of a sudden, that's that. You're just supposed to accept it, and it's because it's so cool that we'd like to see more of where it came from instead of just brushing it off the shoulder.
For instance, vibranium is bringing us hovercraft, medicine, cloaking devices. Like, where the frick is all this coming from?
Plant life.
Yeah, we don't know.
We got the
where...
force field on the other side.
Okay.
Where's that come from? They don't explain that at all.
Yeah. Okay.
Turn it off! You gotta turn it. It's such a little brief thing you do. You don't just leave it on forever.
This was going to be a later point, but who's doing all the breeding? I suspect that vibranium makes babies because the Black Panther, King T'Challa, was the only man like in his direct kingdom. There was the other tribes and stuff, but within his tribe, he is the only male.
Yeah.
Maybe it's some kind of perverse system like with a pride of lions where there's one male breeding with all the females. But they definitely kept it PG-13 and didn't have that. So, moving on from that, there is the political aspect. Which I will begin to talk about.
Wait.
Strike 5 in this movie, which is getting to be very popular in Hollywood these days, is the hard political agenda.
For instance, we have when Black Panther mentions building bridges instead of barriers.
Which is the exact definition of globalism.
But what's interesting about it, I'll say, is the character difference between Black Panther and, say, like Captain America. Captain America is your all-American patriot. He's all about nationalism and protecting the borders and stuff, whereas Black Panther is on kind of the opposite side of the spectrum with this whole globalism attitude.
Strike 6, sidekicks. In the car chase, Okoye and Nakia, that's how you say it? Yeah. They kind of stole the spotlight off of Black Panther because this would be the first time we get to see his suit in action, and we got to see Okoye and Nakia in this car chase and a way less Black Panther, so I didn't like how they pieced that together.
Well, ultimately, the point is, you go to see a Black Panther movie, it's not like when you see the Avengers and it's this whole team thing and it's evenly split up. We really wanted this opportunity before Infinity War to see Black Panther kind of on a solo mission, like, not that he can.
We wanted to see Black Panther, not the Wakanda Warriors.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking until I had a problem. Strike 7, Killing Claw.
Yeah, personally, I was looking forward to seeing Claw's character, so I was hoping they wouldn't kill him off so soon. But he was a really cool character for this movie. He was really dark and just an evil, malicious character.
And it wasn't really necessary to kill Claw for the storyline, you know?
We would have loved to see him in future films, like come in, like maybe even with Thanos, but eventually as more villains come in, it would have been cool to see him team up with them.
Yeah, especially because he brought something else that other characters haven't, not just the evil aspect, but the humor that he brought in. He was so lighthearted. He was evil-hearted and lighthearted at the same time. It's like he still wants to be your friend until he kills you.
Strike 8, gender battles.
Okay, it's obvious at the very end final battle, it's all of Wasabi's boys versus Asaki's girls.
Until Baku's tribe shows up.
Oh, is it on?
It's on!
I thought I turned it off.
Wait. There's only one way to fix it while it's on you.
No!
Yeah. I want
For strike 9, we have the rhinos.
As soon as Wasabi
Yeah.
started blowing his horn, it took just a couple seconds for rhinos to show up out of nowhere as if they were like buried
Yeah.
out of nowhere.
Waiting on a spring trap.
Yeah.
And on the second point about the rhinos, those fences would not hold the rhinos. They would barely hold our horses.
No, for instance, Wakanda is really highly sophisticated.
And they just have these wooden stakes holding them in.
Yeah.
And the rhinos didn't really accomplish much to anything, really. It was kind of pointless.
It was kind of messy.
Yeah, agreed. Strike 10, we have Black Pity.
Yes. Okay, so our villain's character, Killmonger, his agenda seems a little bit insignificant in this movie, only because of where we're at in the storyline and point in time. His tragic beginnings, as we see in the beginning of the movie, of having his dad murdered and then being abandoned by his people and not knowing if his home of Wakanda is even real and stuff, and the whole fantasy of it, that's enough to mess any kid up and enough to create a monster villain. Instead, they kind of split him up and tore him apart between that and a global agenda of blacks taking revenge on all their oppressors from centuries ago. There's so much bigger fish to fry at this point in time.
And Killmonger talks as if blacks are the only ones who have suffered in the world. Like, everybody experienced the tragedy of the Chitauri in New York.
Right. Yeah, and to Age of Ultron, too.
Yeah, no kidding. To sum all that up, with all the global catastrophe that happened, him talking about his Black Pity revenge was out of place a little bit.
That is the sound of ultimate suffering.
See? He's suffered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He suffers all the time.
He doesn't complain about it either.
I'd like to add one more thing to that.
Your nose just twitched.
I know. I'd like to have one more thing is
That's not even full blast.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Never mind. I have nothing to say.
Yes, you do. That wraps it up for all of our strikes, but now we gotta move on to the likes. First off,
One thing we really liked about the movie, we already talked about Claw, it was Andy Serkis' acting. Phenomenal.
Yep.
Crazy, lovable guy.
another thing that we really liked about it was it's definitely a very original approach to the movie.
Yep. As far as originality, just this movie does stand out compared to most of the other ones. As far as we're getting an in-depth look at Black Panther's own, his own continent, his own people, lifestyle, a king. We haven't seen, except for Thor, we haven't really seen what's original about this movie?
The movie has a much different approach than most of the other, actually really more than all the other Marvel movies, because this time, like most times, it's some kind of freak accident or experiment that creates them, like creates the Hulk. This is just an old ancient tradition. He was born to be the Black Panther.
Yeah.
He was born to be a king. It provided a good, fresh storyline. It wasn't predictable. We really like that.
Yeah.
Plus
We appreciate
the royal tribute battling for the kingship. Awesome.
Really cool.
We loved that.
Having a fight as a mortal. That was cool.
Yep.
I Another thing we really liked about the movie is that they brought Agent Ross from Civil War back into the series.
Mm-hmm. It's always important to tie in some, familiar characters to connect it all together. And in this case, it was our boy with his JOB at the CIA.
Carefree Industry Association.
AKA Hakuna Matata.
Capital G-O-D, bless USA.
We'd like to give a special thanks to the following who shared our video. Follow those guys on Instagram.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you again for joining us at Fan Strike covering the Black Panther episode. That wraps it up for us today.
Remember to subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram.
Thank you for watching.
Later. How do I take this off now?
Right.
Don't
Disarm it first.
Don't
You have to
do
disarm
it again. Don't
Yeah.
don't
have to hold the button.
don't do it again. Don't do it again.
Oh, the camera's off, wasn't it?
It's on.
Now it's off.
They talk about like.
Woo! Tell me when it stops.